Welcome, everybody, back to the Nameless Podcast. I don't even know what episode this is, but we are back talking mostly NBA basketball. We've got down to the end of the season here. We've done some end of season awards that have been received well online, but we're going to go more toward looking to the playoffs and the futures of some of the teams, the near futures of some of these playoff teams this season. We will talk maybe a little bit of NFL. Obviously, we're going to save more of that for the Friday episode. But big news that came out about a little over 20 hours ago, which is that former Denver Nuggets championship winning coach Mike Malone will be coaching at UNC, which was a pretty big news drop just because they're an organization and an institution that is known for staying in-house. And by in-house, usually just some alumni member or a direct alumni member. Now, some pointed out that Mike Malone's daughter is on the volleyball team for UNC, but I was actually watching First Take, and I happen to agree with Stephen A. of all people, who said, "Look, that is not like an in-house kind of hire with that kind of a relationship. They're talking former players and people who are literally in the team, the Tar Heels or team and the locker room." So kind of out of left field, Mike Malone, Ivy, you have intimate knowledge, being a Denver Nuggets fan, of not maybe the inner workings, but certainly how Mike Malone is as a coach on the outside and what he brings game to game and season to season. So from making the jump to professional to, I guess, semi-pro now in college, now that athletes can be paid, do you think this is a transition that will bear fruit? Or I want to hear your general thoughts first, and then I'll kind of direct the conversation in a couple ways.
Yeah, I think, first of all, Malone is kind of a perfect college coach. He's just kind of a maniac, which I think is the number one prerequisite for any college basketball coach, is you have to be a huge personality and you have to be an asshole. And I think Malone is both of those things. Like, whatever else you want to say about him, he runs really hot. He has, like, a real swagger about him. And I feel like for, like, recruiting stuff, like, if Malone is coming up to you and being like, "Hey, come to North Carolina, man. This is Jordan's school. This is where, like, legends are born. I won a title recently. I have the Nuggets tattooed on my back. Like, if you come here, we'll be family. Like, I'll get you wherever you want to go." That's a great pitch. Like, especially with the UNC, like, I'm sure their NIL stuff is massive just because it's a huge school. So, like, this is kind of a slam dunk for UNC. I think, obviously, it would be cool to see Malone get, like, a real NBA job, but in short of that, like, I think the UNC job is probably the coolest thing he could have done it right now.
Now, I hate to bring this up, but we have seen this before. This is a movie, even specifically, that UNC fans know, which is you hire the longtime professional coach who's had a good track record. And, they did that with Bill Belichick and had a kind of a nightmare season. It ended kind of more middling, but certainly did not go the way that they hoped. Can you speak to maybe any specific edge that you think Mike Malone brings to UNC and to Chapel Hill?
I think, so it's weird because I think he's going to be a very good college coach in the sense where I don't think he's going to do anything super creative. I don't think his edge is going to be schematic at all. I mean, like, you just see, like, some of the plays that these college coaches run are just, like, absurd because they can, like, kind of make the players do what they want. There's, like, less star talent, so there's fewer obvious options. And I don't think Malone is, like, a really advanced schematic coach, really. But I think just in terms of through sheer force of personality and will, I think he has, like, the ability to kind of unite a team behind, like, towards a certain goal. And I think that's kind of the only thing that really matters as much, like, in college basketball. I mean, there's obviously, like, a bunch of other stuff that goes into it and the recruiting stuff, but, like, I don't know. He just has the kind of personality. He has the aura, really, to be, like, a really, like, fantastic college coach. And that's, like, kind of half the battle with these college coaches.
Now, I'm going to kind of set up a question here that hopefully maybe we'll cut down for a shorter clip. But Mike Malone, last we saw him in the NBA, was really in a heated, long time professional battle with members of his own organization, and specifically those in player acquisition and player movement, and his general manager. You know, Calvin Booth and him were known to be butting heads behind the scenes. And it's kind of still remains to be seen who is right. I mean, Peyton Watson being that dude is certainly making Calvin Booth look pretty awesome in retrospect. But obviously, Mike Malone did not agree with the strategy that Calvin Booth's team or part of the organization was using. Do you think that a big part of Mike Malone taking this job is the fact that Mike Malone can now say, man, I don't have to deal with stupid GMs. I can just pick my own guys?
Absolutely. I have to imagine that's the big draw for him in college. Like, everyone was talking about how Malone doesn't like to play rookies, second year players. So it's going to be really fun to see what he does with like actual highly touted freshmen. But I think like that's kind of missing the point where I think you're kind of hitting on it where it's like I don't think he has a problem with young guys necessarily. I think it's like got young guys who are not his guys. Like I think giving him the ability to like basically design a team around his philosophy and then coach it, I think that is probably the biggest draw for Malone in college just because like I mean the dude has the Nuggets tattooed on his back. Like I think he genuinely wanted to be a Nuggets lifer, and it wouldn't surprise me if the big reason that he thought that thing failed was because he didn't get a chance to like actually pick his guys and build the team the way he knew it needed to be built. And granted, the way that it is being built now and is doing like being very successfully built right now, I think he wants to kind of get a kind of vengeance on the NBA and on Calvin Booth, the Nuggets. Like, I think he wants to get a vengeance, and I think he wants to do it in a way where it's like, these are my guys, and this is why I was right. Like, I think that's what he's going to be thinking when he's cutting down the nets, honestly.
And I think one thing that may have been intriguing to Malone is that it was very public that Bill Belichick went to UNC when they were interested and handed them the Belichick Bible and said, this is how I'm running my organization, period. There is no external factors from the institution that are going to affect this. This is how I run my program. And even through the tumult of this past season, they've stuck with him. He's recruiting, going into the next season. They're still preparing for the future. And I think that's exactly the type of organization that Mike Malone was looking for, especially if he is in charge or majorly in charge of player acquisition, is a place that he can go because he's won championships and say, regardless of what happens in the short term, you're going to stick with my vision. I want to go to a place where I know that my vision is going to be executed for better or for worse. It's going to be my guys, and I'm either going to go down with the ship after 5 years or I'm going to be here for 15, but it's going to be my way or the highway. So this marriage of these of coach and this marriage of coach and college team, I think actually makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people were caught off guard seeing as though he was an outside hire, but the mentality of UNC is something that definitely would have attracted Mike Malone or really a lot of professional coaches to come on down if they can say, it's my way or the highway.
It's kind of fun because it's like letting a director be like a full auteur and take like direction of every single thing happening in a movie. I feel like that's what UNC is really doing right now, and it's fun. I mean, I think honestly, the Malone stuff might work better there than the Belichick stuff did. Not because I think Malone's a better coach than Belichick, and like, come on, like he's not. Like I love Malone, but come on. But I think it's really just like I think that kind of thing works a lot better in basketball than it does in college, just because basketball, the roster size is so much smaller. The relationships you can develop with each specific player can be so much like deeper, I think, than in football. And I think that's kind of where Malone really excels. Is he's very, very clearly very good at like building relationships with his players. He's good at maintaining relationships with those players, and I think like having that kind of auteur mind with college basketball or college sports in general, I think that's why a lot of these coaches do it. Is like it's your team now, it's your program, your franchise. Like you have, we'll give you the money to like get the people you want, but like it's gonna be the people you want. Like there's gonna be no one else here, you know.
And I think you made two really good points earlier, kind of in different parts, but definitely that Mike Malone is a guy who there was this stink on him that he wasn't allowing the young guys to play. And no, it wasn't that. He was letting his young guys play and thrive, and he wasn't going with who the rest of the organization wanted to go with, which, kind of looks bad in hindsight, but I feel like we kind of have to give it to him. They still won a championship in the run, so
That's
it's
the
not like it was a
thing.
total loss. You also had said that you had kind of made Mike's pitch for him, which is, hey, I've won in the NBA, come play for me, get NBA ready. Even if the team's not good, I'm an NBA coach. I have the expertise to specifically get you ready for the league. And that is a good pitch, but some other there have been a lot of college coaches that have made similar pitches in the past. Do you think that that will work for him? What will be his strength, I guess, in relationship building through recruiting? Do you, as a fan, and seeing the way he interacted with the press and his own team, do you feel like that might be a struggle for him in the future? And even thinking, 5 years down the line, is that going to be a struggle for him, or is he kind of built for this world, this new college sports world?
I think he is, and I honestly think it goes back to one of the very first segments we ever did on this podcast, the NBA coaches shouldn't fuck segment. And I think the overriding opinion from all of us was that dude is charismatic. Like Malone is charismatic as fuck. He walks in the bar, he owns the bar. Like he has that kind of aura and energy and swagger about him. And I think that just goes a long way with these college kids. Like, because now that all of the money is like here, it's above board, and everyone is throwing money everywhere, I think the money has become kind of like an equalizer to some extent, where like everybody who has money has the same amount of money. Like there's not like the like wait, actually let me restart that. I think it's become an equalizer to the extent that what really matters now is not just the money, but it's also like, can you sell this person a vision on the future? It's like the same thing as like any free agency in any sport. It's like, yeah, you're going to give me the money, but so is this other guy. Like, what makes you different? And I think with Malone, I think we've just seen like he clearly can build relationships with those guys. Like, there were definitely a few times in this run where, and then this Nuggets run, where they probably could have or should have fired Malone, but they didn't because he had such a good relationship with Jamal and Jokic. And I think that's not really an accident. Like, I think he knows how to keep star players happy, which is like a huge part of any organization now, especially in college basketball.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, but obviously UNC has a specific model of the future that they're trying to build toward. They're, doing the big splash. Usually it's a splash free agent pull, but since it's a college institution, it's a splash coaching hire. Obviously taking guys from the leagues and believing that their standings and their connections to the league are the thing that are most important for their athletes. And remains to be seen how successful it is, but I find it very interesting. And at least, I respect a consistent strategy and a consistent execution of said strategy. So we'll really see how it goes. And to be fair, there are a lot of people that are predicting a pretty significant turnaround for the Tar Heels football program. I mean, let's not, write the story on this too quickly. I think we got to give this a couple years and see where they're at. For all that was said, Dion was a relatively successful college head coach. And, it's starting to kind of be on the downturn, but he had a pretty good couple seasons there. And not many can say that they ever did. But anyways, we will get more back to, we're going to get back to the NBA. And let's talk a little bit about Nuggets Spurs. People have talked about it already. There has been some analysis that's been out there, but we have to hear from our resident Nuggets fan and transition to the current day NBA. How do you feel going toward the end of the season about how the top teams in the West are matching up with each other and the future of the Denver Nuggets?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling awesome. I came on here last time and I was so down on the team. I think we were still on our 6 game winning streak, and I was just like, "This is just we're barely beating the Jazz and the Wizards. Like it's just bad." Now, after that Spurs Nuggets game, all bets are off for me this season. That game was genuinely incredible. We were missing a lot of our front line. Like Peyton was out, Spencer Jones was out, Zeke Naji was out. Basically, our only real bigs were Giannis, AG, and Jokic, which is like kind of the recipe for how the Nuggets defense fell apart in the last 3 months. Was just we had no real frontline options. But the defense in that game, I mean, it kind of came and went. There were a few stretches where it was awesome, and there were a few stretches where it just didn't exist, which is what you'd expect from a team that's still trying to figure itself out right now on that end of the floor. But I mean, when they needed that stop at the end on Wemby, they got it. AG was unbelievable defensively in that game. I don't know if you saw it, but it was that last defensive stand he had against Wemby at the end of regulation was textbook. It was unbelievable. He did a spectacular job, and I think even beyond that, the defense doesn't have to be elite. Really, they have to be top 15. That's about all this team needs, just because the offense is so ridiculous. It is just straight up absurd how good this team is offensively. It doesn't even matter who's in or who's out. Every one of these guys can attack you in a million different ways. And I'm really high in the Nuggets. I mean, they almost lost to the Blazers last night, but the Blazers were shooting 50% from three. So there's not it's just one of those variance games, but they still won. We're on a 9-game win streak. The Nuggets in this entire era, as every Nuggets fan knows, have never had a 10-game win streak with Jokic. Never. And that is good. That could change this week. I'm just saying shit's getting real again. Shit's getting real. I'm going to be annoying on this podcast. I apologize to all of our listeners, but this is just what's going to happen now. I'm so sorry.
Well, I don't think you have to apologize, and I'm going to transition quickly into another thing that we wanted to speak about, which is essentially the nature of what we're doing here and trying to be sports analysts, sports media personality figures. What is our goal? Ultimately, is our goal to look cool? No. What it really is trying to be the first one to say, or the first group to say, we told the story of the season right. We were the ones who got it. We were the first and the earliest who were telling you what was really happening when it was all happening. Now, when you think about that, that can be picking a champion out of the 30 or 32 teams in the league and calling it from day one and staying on it till the end, or picking the MVP of the league, maybe more to a player level, or the organization or something. But it's always about what was the story of the season. I think a lot of the reason why people felt that Drake May should have been NFL MVP was because he was kind of the story of the season. You had the Drake May thing. You had he became a meme essentially. And, for better or for worse, there are people that believe that should sway an award like that. Now, what does that have to do with what I'm saying? I'm saying that what we have been doing for the NBA this season is exactly that, is predicting the real story of this season. And not like we've been getting a lot of hate comments about this specifically, but we talk a lot about the Nuggets on this podcast. We talk a lot about the Celtics on this podcast, and one, two, or three more teams here and there. But we are big homers in this podcast, and that's definitely the perception. But I would also argue that we have accurately been telling the stories of the season by maintaining focus on teams that a lot of people had written off as not going to be competitive late. And what's the story about these teams going into the last week of the season, the last 2 weeks of the season, the last few games of the season? Denver Nuggets are red hot. Celtics are getting healthy and back to where they were at. And we heard so much talk about the Thunder when they went on that run at the beginning of the season. Is it really worth playing out the season? Really? We know the Thunder are going to win. They go 25-2 over that whatever stretch or whatever. and we maintained firm in our positions, that they were fallible, that they were very fallible. We were, unconvinced in certain ways about the Spurs, and certainly not Wemby's talent, but overall how they would go throughout the season. And we didn't have the strongest takes on them, but a lot of people did. That was the point. A lot of people were making this season about the Spurs. No one wanted to make the season about Jaylen Brown through sheer force of will. Jaylen Brown, who nobody wants to talk about, nobody, is going to be he's going to finish top 5 in MVP voting. If he doesn't, it's completely ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. But through sheer force of will, he did it. And we were the ones there talking about it the whole time. Jokic, people love to think, and I'm going to steal a quip from Theo Ash here, but I think it's very important. Across sports, people think that best in the world or casual fans believe that the titles such as best in the world are things that flip on a season-to-season basis. They think that titles like that are much more flippant than they really are. Things do not change as fast as people think they do. Players do not develop or get worse at the actual rate that people think they do. There are a lot of extenuating circumstances, external factors. But stuff like best player in the world, that is a title that you hold for a long time. There's a reason that eventually it is bestowed upon you. And I think for a while, the general public has forgotten that about Jokic. With Shea running around, and look, last season's MVP, Shea, that was fair and square. That wasn't an Embiid MVP. That was a fair and square. He did what he needed to do. And if he won it this year, I don't really think anyone would be that mad. It'd be pretty okay. But Jokic is still the best player in the world. And you want to know why I know that? Because he gave work to the person who's supposedly the defensive player of the year this year. Has never had a bad game against him. Has only had good games against him. And certainly, this isn't even an old school center kind of situation where they're like, I'm just having an excuse like I was hurt on these games, or I don't really care. This is the regular season. This isn't the playoffs. Why should I care? No, Wemby cares. Victor Wembanyama cares every game, and especially the ones against talented teams. And the fact that Jokic is still putting up these numbers, someone made a great point, and I'm not sure if I believe it was Nick Wright, made the point that you could really make the argument that Wemby is the player that is the most difficult to get a shot off against in the history of the NBA. If you just want to take into account his physical prowess on the court, he might be already the most difficult person to get a shot off against on defense. And Jokic is, averaging like a 30-point triple-double against him? These things like best player in the world don't change that often. Jokic is still the best player in the world, period. Period. A lot has to change before that title changes. Man, he's put up Larry Bird numbers in the Hall of Fame. Like, his Hall of Fame case is already Larry Bird level. Y'all need to really consider that.
Yeah.
Jokic is, right now, Jokic is fighting to be one of the best players ever. Jokic is fighting to be a top 10 player of this game ever in his career right now. Levels right now. Shea is still knocking on the door of that conversation. I mean, Shea is obviously one of the best players we've ever seen, but there's got to be a couple more years behind this. There is levels to this conversation, and Wemby will most certainly be knocking on those doors eventually. And as many think he might be the one. But it's not there yet, and Jokic is still the best player in the world. And it was imperative that we were big Nuggets heads on this podcast, because people started to forget. Now, that turned into a little bit of a soliloquy, so I apologize, but I just kind of wanted to get that off.
No,
because
I appreciate that's. I'm so glad that you're the one making it, because I feel like if it was me making this case, it would have been much less credible. But I'm just very glad that someone has said it, because I think this playoffs, what I've really come to believe the last 3 or 4 weeks is that everyone's about to remember. This is about to be we're gonna knock the memory back into your fucking head playoffs for the Nuggets. I think everyone has kind of fallen off to the extent where it's they are so focused on all the things that are wrong with the Nuggets, they kind of forget that this is always the story of the Denver Nuggets, is that we're going to be really bad we're not going to be as good as we should be in the regular season. It's going to look ugly And it's going to look ugly even in the playoffs, but we do win games. Like, we win the big games, and it's because we have a top 10 player of all time. I'm going to say it right now. Jokic is a top 10 player of all time right now, today. And I think that is kind of also the thing that I think happened with this Wemby game is that I think Jokic and Shea are the, like, runaway favorites. I think it's Jokic, Shea, and everyone else. I think Wemby will probably be there at some point, but really, truly, those two are the best players in the NBA right now, and I don't even really think it's close. I think the MVP race stuff is real in the sense where it's like all these guys are having really great seasons, but if you're looking at it from like more of the macro perspective, as you said, like it's Jokic, and then it's Shea, and then it's everyone else. And I think this playoffs is really going to remind people of that because yeah, like the Nuggets defense isn't great, but offensively, as I said, like they are, if they were healthy this year, there's a chance that they would have had the greatest offense of all time. And I think they're just now starting to like figure each other out offensively in the last like 3 weeks. Like Cam Johnson has really come on lately. Peyton Watson has been really good when he's back, but he's out again for a little bit. Tim Hardaway is unbelievable. Christian Brown is really rounding into form. Aaron Gordon, the shooting is super real, which is also something that like we haven't talked about a lot on this podcast, but the Aaron Gordon shooting thing is just ridiculous. Like that dude becoming a genuine 40% three-point shooter for like 2 straight years is nuts to me. But yeah, I just this game made me want to do a victory lap on every insane, irrational thought I've ever had about the Nuggets and about like Jokic. But yeah, Jokic is going to remind people why he is a top 10 player of all time, and Wemby is still like a 21, 22-year-old. Like there are levels to this. Like, and there's just levels to it.
It's also, especially when we talk about macro versus micro in terms of a career, Nuggets haven't finished under 45 wins in 10 years. Pretty much 10 years, right? So and that's a little bit long. I think it's like 9 seasons counting this one. I mean, they haven't had it's been 4 full seasons since they've won less than 50 games. I mean that's some serious greatness right there. And Jokic has been at the helm of that, and I do happen to agree with you that he's up there. I mean, the problem is once you start getting into top 10 all time, it's like the Bill Russell conversation is tricky, and the statistical conversations with Wilt are tricky, and oh my God, Shaq would rather have a firing squad go down on any center that's not him for best center of all time. So I'm not sure, but he, especially the way that players talk about Jokic is fascinating. It's so, if MVPs always went to the most valuable player, they'd go to the same guy 5 years in a row. Tom Brady would have won. It would have been Peyton Manning won 5 in a row, and then Tom Brady won 5 in a row, and then Patrick Mahomes won 5 in a row. You know what I mean? Then it would have been LeBron won 10 in a row, and then Kobe won 2, and So I think we have to pump the brakes. We are too reactionary. As a society and as sports fans, we are far too reactionary. These things like best player in the world, most valuable player on a team, and who's the best on this team and who's the best on this team, like usually those answers are the same for a long time, unless obviously the best player is traded or some other circumstance. But Jokic is the best, y'all. It's still the case. Even if the Thunder won this year again, I'd still say Jokic is the best in the league.
He's the best in the league. He just is. Like, it's the Nuggets have been very bad for most. Like, I mean, the roster around Jokic for like at least a few of those years was kind of dog shit just because of injuries. Like, he was taking Austin Rivers and Facu Campazzo to like 50 wins and like willing them to playoff series victories. Like, it's not the great, like his greatness, and people always forget. I think we always love it because I don't know, it's really boring. It can be really boring to talk about the same player being the best for that long, and I think people just want to like always like play with like narratives and like see like, oh, maybe like this is what's happening and maybe I can be like the first one here, but it's like no. Like it's Occam's razor, man. The simplest answer is that Jokic is the best. Like,
and then that becomes the hot take is standing put on that for more than 6 months at a time.
Exactly. And I kind of also, I've just thought of something and I want to propose it to you right before we get into this other thing. But when you said that, like, it's really fascinating the way other players, like, speak about Jokic, I want to propose, like, a Jokic index. Like, I feel like it kind of changes the way I feel about a player depending on the way they feel about Jokic. Like, I think if they kind of do the dumb guy analysis of like, oh, he's like bad on defense and he's slow, like he's overrated, like it's like you're not really watching the games. You're just
In
not.
general, if someone, athlete or no, can't admit that he controls the flow of games, and that is what his big separating factor is that regardless of what happens, you're going to play it on his terms, then I start to, that becomes a red flag to me because that is his power. It doesn't matter. Clearly, it hasn't mattered that he's slow and lumbering. If that, and if he even is, which he isn't, especially, insert that video now of Jokic defending, I forget who it was, but defending the hell out of someone. It may have been Shea, but it was someone pretty shifty that he went from the post up to the top of the key, or at least to the top of the free throw line, shuffling, moving his feet, getting lateral,
It was
moving
De'Aaron
quickly.
Fox. It was De'Aaron Fox
It
this
was
last
De'Aaron
weekend.
Fox. You're exactly
Yeah.
right. It was De'Aaron Fox versus Jokic in that matchup. And he was all over De'Aaron Fox. That's one of the fastest dudes alive and the fastest dudes in the NBA. And quickest and most nimble. Jokic was with him every step of the way. So a lot of this defensive stuff, I mean, you just point to the one video and you go, look, how many times you need him to turn that on a game?
And I think this also is like a thing, we can move on from this soon, but the other thing that I think people always forget is that rebounding is a huge part of defense, and especially for rim protectors. Like, yeah, Jokic is kind of a shitty rim protector. The stats bear it out, the eye test bears it out. Like, he's not good at protecting the rim. But what he can do is he can end possessions sooner than I think other centers would let them. He consistently is like a top 5 defensive rebounder in the NBA. Like, in that De'Aaron Fox clip, you can see it where he, like, he's running out to De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, I think, swings it to either Vassell or maybe even like Wemby, and the shot goes up and it misses, and he boxes Wemby out. He boxes like a 7'5", 7'6" dude with like 8'5" wings, or 8'5" wingspan, and he boxes that dude out and finishes the possession so that his the Nuggets can like start running in transition. Like, that's as big a part of defense as anything else. Is just being able to stop playing defense. Like being able to get out of defensive possessions is a huge thing.
One thing I just thought about also while we were in this conversation, which could be an interesting, Hall of Fame indicator, is how many players have been an All-Star 10 seasons in a row? Like, Jokic could definitely hit that. And if that's maybe a separate, that may be more common than you think. But even if you did modern era, it might not be. Guys made the All-Star team 10 years in a row. But, oh, man.
That's honestly more of a longevity award, Like, that's a health award, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do that longevity, like, if we have answered any question in the last 10 years of sports media, it's that longevity stats do matter in the overall conversation. Like, that is true. Like, Frank Gore might get into the Hall of Fame. Frank Gore, probably not a Hall of Fame running back, all things considered. But he could get in because the longevity stats are respected that much. Oh, man, I can't believe Jokic didn't win the 2022 MVP. Really I'm sorry. We will get off of it. I'm just pulling up the stats. It's like, come on. He should have won 4 in a row. It's ridiculous.
He should have won last year, too. Like, I think even last year, I mean, this year, it's definitely like, this is a Shea award. Like, Shea has been so much better this season for, like, more consistently. Like, Jokic has just not had as good of a Jokic year as you'd expect. But, like, last year, it was like, come on, Jokic is the MVP. What are we doing here? That team was garbage, if not for Jokic. You're muted.
As we promised, we will move and continue to move toward the modern NBA. And we'll talk some playoffs, and we're going to get negative because the internet and the algorithm loves negative. They love it. Let me tell you. Engagement on this channel goes through the roof when we are down on someone, even if it's not that serious at all. But we're going to talk about, we're going to make some predictions for biggest early exit candidates in the NBA this playoffs. Let's start with the Knicks, as we always do on this channel. Ivy, tell me what is wrong, what you sense is in the water about this team that makes you think that they are an early playoff exit candidate.
I'm just gonna read you some facts. I think this is the best way to understand the Knicks. Is let me just read you some facts. They are top 8 on both sides of the ball, the only team in the NBA to do that this season. They have two of the best wing defenders in the NBA, in OG and Mikal Bridges, an elite anchor in Mitchell Robinson, two perfectly matched primary creators in Cat and Jalen Brunson, and a good bench, right? They're on paper, their starting five is truly elite. They have everything you could want if you put Mitchell Robinson as like the center and Cat as the four. That is a truly elite team. Yet their most used five-man lineup is minus 1.6. Any lineup without Mitchell Robinson is hemorrhaging points defensively. Like, not just like losing, like getting like a minus 120, like 120 defensive rating. It's absurd. It's should not be possible for a team that is this good statistically on both sides of the ball, that the entire thing revolves around the health of one Mitchell Robinson. I don't know what's going on with this team. They shouldn't be this. There should not be a stretch this season where they go like 2-9 as they did earlier. Every week it's something new. Like they just don't. I don't know if it's that they don't like each other. I don't know if it's because wherever Cat goes, fair or not, everyone seems to hate him. Like not just the city, not just like the media, but like the actual players just don't seem to like stick up for that dude. And I don't know what it is. But something is like profoundly wrong with this team. I think you could say that, yeah, like it's partially because Tibbs may have like covered up for some of their flaws, right? Like Tibbs may have been able to unify, and the way we're talking about Malone can do, may have been able to unify these like wayward, disparate personalities towards a common purpose. And Mike Brown is just not that kind of guy. And that may be true. But Ben, with all of the facts I just said to you, what do you make of that? Like, how does that make sense as like an NBA fan, like just someone who has been watching this game for so long? Like, how does all of that make one team? And what if it does make one team? What do you make of that team?
I think that there's always a strange effect, and this is going to get very psychological and non-basketball. But I do think there's an effect when you have a lot of friends at work, and how the ends of seasons can turn out in a certain way. Like, they are a very comfortable bunch, and when you talk about Tibbs being, I think you bring up Tibbs may have been covering up for stuff. Like, I don't think you've hit that point hard enough necessarily. Where, as some players have said, one of the reasons why playing for Tibbs is great is that if you start, you're going to get all the minutes. Like, you know that you're going to play all the minutes, and that's totally fine. But it definitely creates, like, a hunger in your bench to know that when they're on the floor, they need to do their best. And, you know, all these guys are friends, but, like, they're out there the whole time, like that you're playing more into that relationship, right? Like the fact that they have to be out there the whole time, great. Like they want to talk, they want to do whatever. But I do think the coaching change and the culture change to maybe benefit like the almost seemingly the vibes of how of the regular season. Like I think we're going to see that come back to bite them when basketball gets serious again. Like, there was a reason why Tibbs puts you in the machine, in the mechanism. Like, it's to prepare you for war. And sure, you can talk about his playoff shortcomings, but, you know, he's getting far enough and getting close enough. I mean, they're sometimes you need your guy, like, it's players-dominated league. You need your guy to twitch you over the edge. So I'm not sure, really, is my full answer, but I do think that the coaching change had more to do with it than people are stating. It kind of felt like that just went by the wayside, but even at the time, that was like totally ridiculous. I mean, what were we saying? We were like, why did you do that? Like, why isn't just this the thing that you're committing to? Like, it really is that bad. Like, it's really that bad. I mean, he didn't. This is like, oh man. I mean, people really clown on Sacramento for kind of blowing their team up after they had gone to the playoffs for the first time in 20 years. Like, the Knicks are kind of too big to fail in terms of the investment in the team, but you could almost have said that about them after firing Tibbs here, especially if they go out like first round and then maybe if they continue to struggle in the future. It was like, then what was it all for? What was all the culture building about then? If you just immediately snuffed out the flame that was there, that got you closer than you have been to the finals in decades. Decades. Our whole lives, they were laughingstock.
I think the original sin with this team isn't just the Tibbs thing. I think Tibbs is a symptom of it, but I think the original sin is the Cat trade. Not because I think Cat has been bad for them, because if you statistically, he's been amazing offensively for them. He is like everything they needed offensively in like pre that trade. But I think getting rid of Dante Dante DiVincenzo, who is one of the most valuable role players in the NBA. Full stop. Like, he is on the Aaron Gordon All-Star team. Like, that dude is a fucking dog. He can shoot the shit out of the ball. Like, getting rid of that guy who also has the relationship with Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges, like, that was bad, right? And I think getting rid of Julius Randle, who, for all of his shortcomings, is a dog and at least defensively can be a little bit better than Cat can when he's fully locked in. I think that was bad, and I think it just kind of is like, it's very old Knicksy in the sense where it's like, yeah, like, of course the Knicks gave up like this really cool chemistry, like, culture thing they had to go chase after stars, and then it blows up in their face, and now in the year when they should be like the prohibitive favorites to come out of the East, which we've talked about before, they are like probably maybe the third contender out of the East, and that's like a problem because the Eastern Conference is really good this year. It's like very specifically very good right now. We haven't talked a lot about the Hornets or the Hawks on this podcast, but both of those teams are legit. Like, no one wants to play either of those teams. They are, especially like the Hornets, they have a style of play that can just really, really swing a... Like, they're the most, like, fuck around and, like, pull off a crazy first-round upset team that I've seen in a while. They are, like, just that good. Same with the Hawks. I don't think the Knicks want to play, like, the Magic or the Rap. Like, there's just, it won't be a cakewalk to, like, get out of the first, like, few rounds this year, the way I think that it was in the last few seasons. And I think the Knicks, like, this is why I think they're a first round, or not first round maybe, but, like, second round exit candidate for sure, is, like, they just don't have the necessary, like, cohesion to really make all this work.
The culture wants the Knicks to be good so bad. Everything in our culture wants the Knicks to be good so bad. This is the first year where I'm willing to say, okay, it's been like 30 seasons of this. Knicks have been consistently good for the first time in my life. After this season, I can say that. For a team to make those all-in kind of moves, the kind of moves that if they don't, essentially, not even if they don't work, but now that you've made them, you have mortgaged your future. Would it have been better for you as an organization just to have a couple seasons, a longer stretch of time to be consistently good, get the Knicks back into talking points? And, you'd rather... That's the thing as an owner, too. Like, a lot of people talk about, the Bulls. And that's actually a story we didn't even talk about, is that the Bulls just fired their front office. They pulled the Nuggets and they fired both the GM and the coach, which is, a lot of people are saying, thank goodness. But, I'm kind of forgetting where I'm going. But
the Knicks, the Bulls only fired their GM and the vice president. Donovan's still there. But
the sin with them is that they were consistently all right for too long, and they screwed themselves in that way. But I think the Knicks kind of need that. The Knicks kind of need the credit of, like, man, you walk into that arena and it is a dogfight every single time. Like, to me, why do the Celtics have that kind of connotation? Why is TD Garden a tough out every single time? And why isn't MSG a tough out every single time? I'm not buying the excuse of like, well, everyone travels to New York, everyone lives in New York, so it's always going to be a split audience. No. Everyone in New York should be a Knicks fan. You need to make everyone in New York fans. You need to go on enough of these playoff runs where it becomes, you have to trick people, casual fans in New York, to think like this is a yearly thing. The Knicks are going to do their yearly run. Get ready for the yearly run. That's basically what the Yankees have been doing. And I think there's a lot more Yankees fans. There's a lot more hype around the team. There's a lot more hype around baseball. So no, I don't think for this organization specifically going all in was the play there. And I don't think cutting your coach to try to say, okay, maybe this will put us over the edge. I don't think that was worth it. I think installing a program that you hoped to run for 10 years was a better look than that.
And I think the patience specifically would have really borne out for them, because even if they had gone in with the all-in strategy, I mean, like, you just look at it, like, if they sat on their hands for 1 year, they didn't make the McCall trade where they gave up 5 first-round picks, Ben. 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, which will forever be one of the most baffling moves a team has ever made, especially if the Knicks never win in this era.
It's also, not to cut you off, but because even if it works, even if you get the championship, it's still so
it's a lot.
Much capital.
But
it's still that much.
When I feel like when you win the championship, all sins are absolved. But I think this one specifically, if they had just waited 1 year to held onto those assets for 1 more year, run it back, just like they still would have made the OG move. That would have been the right move at the time. That's really worked out well for them. They could have used that to get like a Giannis, man. They would have immediately had the best. Giannis would probably be a Knick right now. They would have had the best package. Giannis would have wanted to go there, and this team just probably honestly would have been in the finals last year. Like, genuinely.
Because it also, Jalen Brunson would have signed a team-friendly contract anyway.
Exactly.
You know that now. If he did it then, he would have done it, even if they were saying, could have been a situation where he's saying, I'm not going to sign a team-friendly contract unless you get the guys here. Like, I'm not going to do it on theoretical. But if he did it anyway, I bet you the office was like, could have said something like, look, we want to get this money ready because we want to, when Giannis comes available or Kawhi becomes available for trade, like, we want to get these guys here. And I agree with you. I think taking a shot at another 1A, quote unquote, would have been better. And it makes you think, not to derail you too much, because we are talking about the Knicks this season, but it does make you think that, man, maybe the Knicks themselves, maybe the Knicks think that Jalen Brunson is a 1B. Because why would you go all in immediately? Why would you immediately go all in? Supposedly this guy's in the prime of his career, right? Why would you go all in immediately? Maybe you think he really only has like 1, 2, maybe 3 seasons of this in him. And that's going to be it. Maybe, just maybe, they didn't think that Jalen Brunson was as good as their own fans do. Shocker. I know that might be shocking to people. And we've been on this podcast a lot saying that we like Jalen Brunson, but his play style will not last. He is too small. His body will not last in this league. I think the Knicks might agree with us. I think their own organization might agree with the Nameless Podcast more than their own fans in the comments. So have at it, guys.
You don't trade you don't trade 5 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges because you think your franchise cornerstone is going to be that guy for that long. You just don't do that. That's insanity. I mean, I do agree with that, and I also think like it's important to say that like the playoffs haven't started yet, and we're already talking as if they've lost or as if the season is a disappointment, because like, as good as they have been statistically in the regular season, to bring this all the way back to the beginning, like top 8 on both sides of the ball, which no one else has done. They have some of the best talent at their positions in the NBA. But like, there's something fundamentally broken in this team, and I don't think either Knicks fans, national NBA people, just anyone who's been paying even the smallest bit of attention this year kind of believes that the Knicks have this in them, and I think that's really fucking damning. Like, I think this is like, if they lose this year, I think all bets should be off. Like, I think they should try to move Cat. They may even want to try to move Brunson, if we're being super honest with ourselves. like who says no first to a Brunson for Donovan Mitchell trade? Like, who says no? Like, who says no?
I mean, arguably the biggest clip that's ever been on this channel is you making the joke like this. You might have the highest trade value of Brunson right now when we were getting to the trade deadline this season. Like he has a good contract to trade for if you think he's a 1A guy.
Great contract.
You know, I think we might find out about a lot of under the table payments he may be receiving on this contract.
Oh,
Who
you're
knows?
sensing some aspiration stuff in there?
Look, I don't know about any of the autographs that he may be signing, but I think based on how some people reacted to the aspiration scandal within the league, I think there could be some stuff going on. I mean, look, as a Patriots fan, that's what Brady was doing here the whole time. So I'm not going to act like my hands are clean. I think if you can do it and get away with it, great. You just can't respect someone if they get caught. That's a big part of this.
Yeah, and I
But
think
yeah, let's move on to another team that people are going to be upset about that we've been right about the whole season.
just another victory lap for us.
Just another victory lap. Let's talk about the Rockets. We got on here when they were in the midst of actually the very beginning stages of one of their best stretch of games of the season. And Ivy, through the phone, was like, no, we're not believing in this team. We can't go that far. And then they play well, and then they're kind of middling, and then Kevin Durant is in group chats with teenagers talking about his real-life adult teammates. Sorry. And if it's not teenagers, it's 35-year-old idiots, and that's not any better. And now they've been on kind of a disastrous run, but they're still in playoff position. So are we to think that they're going to have some kind of bounce back, end to their season, or they're going to come together in spite of it all? Ivy, what are your thoughts?
So, I will take a victory lap on the Rockets. I was really low on this team to start the year. I was low even when they were playing really well at the beginning of the year. And I've been low the whole time. But I do need to be, in the interest of fairness, if I'm going to take a victory lap, I also have to say I really liked the way Şengün was playing in the first part of the season. I think I said he was a lock to be an all-star starter. And since then, he has just fallen off a fucking cliff. I'm going to have to eat crow on that. I was wrong. Şengün is a bottom 10 high volume mid-range shooter right now. His true shooting percentage is 3 points below league average. He has been emphatically profoundly bad offensively. And part of it is his fault. His game is just really weird and awkward, and if he's not hitting his jumpers, it becomes really difficult for a guy who's a little bit undersized for a center.
I'm actually going to jump in to ask you a specific question. Do you think that there's an effect on him of the physicality when you're getting later into the season and closer to the playoffs? Of the intensity ratcheting up? Do you think that there's an effect there? Because, again, to go back to my point of player's skill does not fluctuate as much as you think it does. I don't think you're going to be that wrong. There's a reason why a lot of NBA greats were on the train of this kid is really good already. I think he is still a good player, but do you think it's that adjustment of okay, vets are turning it on, guys who are still clawing for minutes or not sure about their positions next season, are really trying to show out? Do you think there's an effect there of the intensity ratcheting up, or do you think it's mental and there's something wrong or a motor skill or something physical within his game that's kind of fallen off?
So it's kind of a dumb. My argument about that would be kind of dumb, but I think it does bear true. It's like the Domantas Sabonis thing, where it's those guys are the most physical players, some of the most physical players in the NBA, especially at their positions. But they are both 6'10". They don't have crazy wingspans. And when you're playing a physical game like that, and you're you're in the mud the entire game, every little inch matters. The margin for error inside is so much lower to just get your arm to a mildly normal position. This is what makes Wemby such a dynamic finisher, is that his arms are just so long that even if you take him out of a play, even if he doesn't get the exact right position, just his sheer length, he can get his arm into the right kind of position to get a good shot up around the rim, and I just don't think Şengün has that. But I think it also really speaks to kind of the overall problems with this Rockets offense, where it's like, yeah, you want to be like mad at Şengün or say like he's been bad, and he has been, but it's also like he doesn't really have space to work in. Like that's like one of the biggest problems is that their best, like they're one of their top five, like their top lineup right now, their top starting five is like features two guys who are just complete non-shooters, and or at least like people aren't gonna like really make space for, and Tari Eason and Amin Thompson, and then you add like Şengün in there, and it's three guys who like no one's really selling out to defend on the perimeter. So there's it's just really congested like offense right now, and their three best offensive players like Reed, KD, and Şengün are minus 2.4 together. And on a team this like hurting for offense, like you just like that's just unacceptable. Like they have to at least be neutral, given how bad this team is offensively, how uncreative they are, how little spacing they have, and just really how few creators they have besides like their top two guys. Like none of their beyond the top two, they just don't really have creation. Like Reed Shepherd's good at that occasionally, but he's really small and he can get thrown around. Amin Thompson is very matchup dependent. I mean, he's still averaging like 18 a game this year, and I think everyone's pretty sure that in the playoffs it's going to be a little bit dicey for him as it was last year. Yeah, sorry, this is just a big rant, but it's just like the Rockets offense is kind of structurally disastrous, and I think there's just so many possessions where like they'll get out of their first action and nothing's happening, and then they'll just like either okay, KD, just see what you can make, or Şengün, like, just go to work down low, and that's just not, it's not good offense. It's kind of what the Magic are doing right now. There's a reason that shit doesn't work anymore.
I don't want to be the one to bring up the next kind of point that we would make, and I already talked about it a little, but the vibes are bad. I have talked, there have been multiple clips of me really talking crazy about Kevin Durant, which is insane because I like Kevin Durant. Like, in general, I think he has a really funny existence. Like, I think him and Larry David, or maybe just Larry David should write a show about him. I think that would be really awesome. And I'm a KD fan. Like, KD, again, one of those guys where my principle in sport, even though a lot of the guys I root for are just basic white guys, because that's what New England teams get a lot of the time. If you look like a magical being playing your sport, like, I'm a fan of you. Kevin Durant looks like a magical being. Maybe not in the last couple of years, but Kevin Durant just, same thing with Giannis, but Kevin Durant, because he's such a clean shooter and a slick mover, like, it just, there was nobody that looked like him in our times. For a long, long, long time. And Wemby is kind of a next level and will continue to be that, but it took a long time. But I feel that way about guys in sports. But man, Kevin makes it hard to just even be a casual fan of him. It's like, dude. Real, like, something, a story that I honestly think is being swept under the rug even more than it deserves to be. Like, kind of really nuked the season. Completely nuked the vibes of the locker room. And the only reason I'm assuming that is because it's been dead quiet. It was probably true.
Oh, it was for sure true.
It was for sure true.
Like, are we...
Allegedly.
No.
It was for sure true.
Fuck allegedly. That shit is 100% true.
I'm saying, for legal purposes, I'm saying
okay,
allegedly.
fine, allegedly. But it's true. Come on.
Look, court of public opinion might be right in this case. Okay, we might be onto something, folks. But man, I mean, it's just so crazy. It begs the question, like, what was he doing during the late Golden State years? What was he doing during the Nets time? Like, where are those burners? How long have those been around? What accounts are just still exist out there? Like, when you make a social media account when you're a little kid on like a random website, and you're like, come back to it 10 years later now, you're like, oh my god, that's been here the whole time. There's got to be several just ghost Kevin Durant accounts that some guy at Twitter is like, no effing way, dude. You have no idea what kind of back end shit I can do in this account right now.
No, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. We've had some like comments on our KD posts, and I'm not gonna lie. Every time we get one of those, I'm like, is that Kevin Durant? Like, is that Kevin Durant?
See, I'd be horrified if it was, though. That's my point. I'm like, no, this is now what I see of like, when you see athletes respond to clips of people and the people are like, I didn't even, like, I'm a fan of you. It's like, I get it now. Sometimes we're just on here. And look, sometimes you got to speak the truth. Like, bro, Kevin. The thing is like, is there not enough money you can make to get off the internet?
Dude, we've already.
I think that's
no.
the fascinating case study for him. Like, there's no amount of money
No.
he could make that would get him off the internet.
And
We know this. That's how addictive this thing. If we're gonna go to Congress and talk about and go to the Supreme Court with lawsuits about screen time and the iPhone and the internet and social media and sue these companies, Kevin Durant is like the 1A example of the fact that this is a disease.
it really
This is not
is.
something that like happens to poor people or rich people. This is something everyone suffers from.
Yeah.
So,
And I think, just to bring it back to the Rockets a little bit more, I think he has actually been really good for them, just because I think part of the problem is that Ime's coaching is just kind of falling apart. Ime is in danger of hitting what I'm calling the Tibbs zone of like NBA coaches, where it's like really good at building a culture, and then there's just comes a year where you're like, this guy just can't do it. This guy, we need like an actual adult in the room who is willing to change at least some part of their philosophy in order to like bring the best out of this team. Because like I said, like it took forever for him to actually start trusting Reed Shepherd to play, which is like, sure, like Reed Shepherd's defense is bad. He's really small. He's getting picked on all the time. But like at a certain point, you can't keep running out these these lineups where the offense is basically, we're just going to let KD try to get a like bucket in a really congested paint, because that's just not going to work out. That's not a recipe for a successful offense, and Reed would have Reed loosens it up a little bit. But I think even beyond that, like even when Reed and KD and Şengün are out there, it's like I said, they're minus 2.4. The offense, while it's very good, I think it's like probably like top 10 like offensive rating. That is like, they don't go to it enough, and it's also not good enough defensively for it to work. So it's just like he's put in this very impossible position. But I think Ime's lack of offensive creativity, his inability to kind of like build a scheme to really accentuate all of these guys' like actual talents, I think has really been like the story of their failure this season.
and if we're gonna get to another team, I think I might want to go straight to what you put on here as the if they can't get healthy teams. What do you think about? Here's how I'll frame this. I feel as though we've done a lot of talking about the Lakers this season, a lot of talk about the Pistons, and the Pistons has been mostly us singing their praises, and more specifically that we're a Cade comrade podcast. But the Wolves, what do you? How about we just do a bit of like a season autopsy in general that maybe can inform the future here, because we've talked in theory about the Wolves, but we haven't really dove into it. So give me your thoughts generally on their season and any individuals that stood out to you, and what that is going to do to bring them into the future if they can get healthy.
The Wolves are just one of those teams that doesn't make sense to me. They're kind of in the Knicks Magic area for me, where it's like you watch the Wolves sometimes and the offense is clicking, the ball is flying around, and the defense specifically, everyone's hitting their rotations. The communication is perfect. The POA defense is awesome. You have Rudy in the back. And you're like, this team can genuinely win the finals this year. And then you watch another game and it's like, everyone's just kind of standing around on defense. No one is really trying to get out to their man. The defensive assignments are being blown all over the place. And offensively, it just becomes like okay, Ant, go shoot 35 times because clearly no one else wants to do this. So I don't really know what to make of that. I kind of want to say it's a coaching thing. This is another like hot seat of mine. I think like all of the teams we've talked about, they have very hot seats for their coaches right now. And I think the Wolves, low key, like
I think Finchie is on the hot seat.
Maybe he should be, man. Like, I'm not saying like because clearly he's done some really good stuff for this team, but the sheer lack of consistency, not just like in terms of like the quality of play, but just the effort, is really galling with this team, especially because they have so much talent. And I think the if they can't get healthy thing is like, it's not just that Ant is out still, but it's also like, if Jaden McDaniels isn't playing, then this team is kind of, I just don't believe they can make it even to the conference finals if Jaden McDaniels isn't there. That's how good he's been for them offensively this year. Like he's just like a kind of change. He's a different kind of offensive creator than they have in Ant and Julius Randle, who are both like huge bullies, as like smooth and athletic and as good as shooters as at least Ant is. Like Jaden is just like a very different kind of attacker, and they really need that. And like without him, without Ant, this offense is just kind of like gonna fall the fuck apart. And even with those guys, I have not seen enough this season from the Wolves to make me really believe that they can beat even like the Nuggets in a playoff series. Like it just, I don't know. I might even take, if the Lakers were healthy, I would probably take the Lakers over the Wolves right now.
You know which teams don't have coaches on the hot seat? Every single team that has a Boston former head coach on it, maybe except Ime. But even Ime, I think, is still pretty solidly safe.
Ime might get fired for real. Ime might
but
really
like,
get fired.
why, bro? Because that's the thing with Houston, right? Like, what is your better option? Hoping that Chris Finch gets fired? Like, hoping that another good coach gets fired? Could have picked up Mike Malone. I mean,
bring D'Antoni back.
D'Antoni back, bro. We thought he was dead. We can't kill him. We can't kill his offense in this league.
Keep D'Antoni out of Houston. That's what I want. That's what I'm thinking.
No. I think it's, man, I guess I just don't think about it that much. You know what would save Finchie's job? If they move the Wolves over to the East.
Oh yeah.
I think that could literally save his job, because then he could really be like, all right, guys, we're getting to the East Conference Finals every single year.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
And that's the thing.
We're making it.
They clearly have the pedigree this year, and if anything, I think they're better than they were in those seasons. I mean, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who we haven't talked about enough, like that the loss of him is kind of is damning for Tim Connolly right now. I don't know if you've followed like what he's doing in Atlanta. He's averaging 20 points a game this year, like full stop the entire year. He went from 9 to 20. He looks unbelievable. His deal is like 4 for 62, which is like what you pay like a decent eighth man, not a legitimate like fringe all-star player. But I think he wasn't that guy obviously in Minnesota.
He's literally getting Jaylen Brown less than Jaylen Brown's contract like 8 years ago.
Yeah,
that's what he's getting paid on right now.
He's getting paid nothing, and I think like losing him was a big deal, even though we didn't really think about it at the time. But I think like this team is still really talented. Bones Highland is having a resurgence with them. Ayo Dosunmu is playing really, really, really well for them. Naz Reid has been like hurt and he's been a little bit shaky, but he's been like overall it's still Naz Reid. Like they have a lot of really good talent on this team, and like I think it really is just like a question of like, who the fuck is willing to play hard every night? Like, how do you get these guys to actually try in the regular season? It just doesn't. I would say that they're probably a hot seat, and they're also like, even if they're healthy, I might say that they're an early exit candidate anyway, just for sheer lack of consistency this season.
Sorry, my dog is barking like crazy. Do you want to talk more about any teams that I skipped over here? I feel like we have talked about Cavs, Lakers, and Pistons a lot.
Yeah, I'm pretty. The Pistons, like, I'm gonna eat a little bit of crow on this one too. They're 6-2 without Cade. Their offensive rating is like league average without Cade. But yeah, like, if he's not there, this team is dead in the water. Like, I'm gonna stand by that.
No, they can't. Are you like, that's unserious to believe that they would go anywhere without Kate. Like, it's just perennially everyone on the outside continues to underrate Cade, and so then you question your own thinking, and you're like, wait, like, are they actually getting? It's like, no. Anyone can go on runs here. Like, no, they're not going to win the title without Cade.
No. I would like to get to grievance corner though, because we got some we got some anger in this grievance corner from both sides here.
Let's do some grievance corner. I only just because, I mean, we'll do one more podcast, and I think maybe on the next podcast we do like a real respect to it. And before we kind of get out of just NBA in general, like it is actually crazy that this is the best Hornets roster we've ever seen.
Yeah.
It is still crazy. This is the best Hornets team I have ever seen with my own eyes, and probably the best in franchise history, at least in their modern franchise history, for sure.
For sure.
And it's still like the roster just isn't that good. You just look across it and you're like, I mean, there's some guys, but like overall, come on, like not really.
I mean, they got something though. They got something cooking down there. I don't know what it is. Like they got. There's a lot of like really. I don't know if you've been following. There's some Warriors buzz around this team. People are starting to talk real crazy about Charlotte.
I think we got to be careful. And look, the only reason I'm talking about this is because the Celtics played them tonight, which is that's probably going to be one of the better games this season because both teams are kind of playing for stuff. And Kobe White is day to day, which would probably mean he's not going to play. But lest we forget, Kobe White is the greatest March basketball player in league history. So if he does play, this could be very bad. But now that it's April, his powers may have been zapped.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see Kobe White on like a real team. It just makes me feel happy. I've been a fan of that dude since UNC, and it just makes me feel good to see that he's like found a niche for himself. I would just love the Hornets so much more if Miles Bridges wasn't on this team. It's like the biggest fucking like stain on this organization.
That conversation, not to make it about us, that conversation is like one of the starting inspirations of this podcast.
Yeah.
We were driving to Malibu, and like that was the conversation in the car, explaining to our friend, it was me, Ivan Strost, explaining to our friend, Kellen, like, okay, we're talking about the NBA and essentially like the problems of DV just being, across sports league, just being an accepted thing. And it like ruins your fandom and team. Like it ruins a lot of fandom and teams, and shit like that happening is so horrible. But the only reason I make it about us is because I feel like that is a common sentiment a lot of people do feel about this Hornets team around us. It's like, yeah, I want to root for them. Like there are cool guys on it, but like, oh my bad. Also, there's a lot of stuff going on outside my house. But there are, you want to talk about like, wow, like Brandon Miller actually was pretty good. People were getting Scoot Henderson takes off on Brandon Miller's head for a while there, and like now where he's come, but like look how far he's come. And LaMelo Ball is still probably a bad person, but kind of having team success that we imagined he'd have when he entered the league. A lot of interesting role guys in the team, but some dark spots where you're like, ugh, this kind of sucks. I mean, the Patriots organization like react that way to a lot of stuff. I mean, Stephon Diggs is not a Patriot right now. Think about that. He just had like the best wide receiver season outside of Julian Edelman and Wes Welker, like in history in the team. That's not true, but it's one of the better wide receiving seasons on the team ever. And immediately off the team when you get into stuff like DV or just assault in general, like that is something that woke 2.0, like we're still right about that, and teams and organizations need to become more militant about not allowing that shit to fly.
Yeah, and you're right that this was one of the inciting incidents for our podcast. And it's like, I think what's really like, I would love this Charlotte Hornets team much more, and I would be, honestly, we would have been talking about it way before this if Miles Bridges weren't there. But every time I watch it, I'm just like, I cannot believe that Adam Silver is letting this man play in the NBA. Like, he is one of the worst defenders, I think, that in like the modern sports in general. Like genuinely, like I think it's like him, Deshaun Watson, like these guys. Like there's a lot of players who like have incidents like this, but like he is one of like the most like consistently shitty people. Like it's like not just one thing. It's like several incidents spanning like years and spanning like all these different like responses to it. And I just can't believe he's part of the NBA and like an important part of this Hornets team. It just really like it just makes me not want to watch this team, genuinely.
It's unfortunate, but like still, I'm happy for their fans, like because the same thing with like Cleveland Browns fans, like they didn't trade for Deshaun Watson. You know what I mean? Like that was the organization, and it's like, come on, man. Like we're trying to root for a football team here. But I'm happy for the fans because it's cool and not like a play in level. Cool, you made the play in, maybe you win the play in game, but you're gonna get washed. Like, okay,
No,
this is a
like they
team that we're expecting to deal some damage, do some damage, and at least go in with some pressure that you want this roster to have because you're gonna have a lot of returning guys anyway, and you want them to have the experience. But good for the people of Charlotte. I'll say
for sure.
And good for shout out Charles Lee, Celtics
Shout out my
assistant.
friend Ray, Charlotte native. I've been talking a lot of shit with her about Charlotte.
Shout out
just
to
as a
Ray.
city. But yeah, shout out Charlotte, man. But for Grievance Corner, I think you and I have both been really mad about this. Like in the past, we've talked a lot about it on this podcast, and this week it just came to a head. I just can't deal with this Giannis shit anymore, man. I just can't. I can't do it. I'm sick of everything that's happening with Giannis. Not just the Kalshi thing, not just the Slumlord thing, but just like the fact that these two entities, like Giannis and Milwaukee, just so clearly want to break up, but neither one of them is willing to take like the 30 seconds of bad PR that would be necessary to actually break this team up. Everyone is trying to like make themselves look better in the press. Everyone is trying to say that it's everyone else's fault but themselves. And ultimately, this has been going on for like 2 years, and at this point, I straight up don't care. Trade Giannis or don't. Like, just literally just shit or get off the pot with both of these teams. Like, if you genuinely want to stay in Milwaukee, just stay in Milwaukee. Shut the fuck up about it. Milwaukee, if you don't want Giannis anymore, you want to start your new era because it's clearly not working, then just fucking trade him. I don't understand why we need to do all this stupid PR bullshit like all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really like, why do we tell these stories from our past of the boy who cried wolf and these seemingly archaic tales? Like, these things teach us. They teach us things. And the problem ultimately is, yeah, trade Giannis. Should have done that anyway. You should have done it a while ago while the asset was a good asset, and you didn't. And every investor that doesn't sell high when they should have always says, actually holding it is always the right call. That's just the way that certain business transactions happen. But for Giannis to do this whole thing of like, going to the media at his locker and dropping the F-bomb and saying like, just fucking trade me and do this. I'm healthy. I welcome the league investigation. Like, of course the league was going to investigate and find whatever they're going to find, which I assume is not really anything. And they came out and said they actually found that Giannis declined to play in a 3-on-3. Like, I'm sure he did. And I'm sure that he's kind of just making this all a mess to try to do the PR jutsu that you kind of described and redirect the energy back toward the franchise. But the problem, Giannis, is that, like, to me, and I know that this is not the take of the general public, but do we not forget that, 3 months ago, Giannis comes out and says, "Oh, I'm partnering with Kalshi. I'm a big board member of Kalshi now. I'm a huge investor." After $25 million goes down on the will he won't he Giannis with the Bucks thing, like what team is he on after the trade deadline? $25 million down on that line on Kalshi. So, yes, I went and Googled, and there isn't an active line right now to be able to bet on Giannis. But why should I believe him? Why should I now believe, from now to the end of time until he divests from gambling entirely, why should I believe that he's not trying to move a line or set a future line to then move it later? Do you know what I mean? Why if this thing comes back up towards maybe September or August of this year, and a new market pops up on Kalshi, well, all of this will have done a lot of affecting whatever the betting line is of that market. So can we really trust, or empathize now with anything Giannis says that has to do with something you could bet on. I feel from a principled position, no.
No.
You can't have empathy for Giannis in this situation. You can't even believe a word he says, because whether it's now or whether it's in the future, he could just be setting a line or pushing people to the over or pushing people to the under or pushing people to one decision, and really he's going to make the other decision, and he's going to take a huge heap of the reward somehow through Kalshi and through the expansion of their business this way. So that's where I get really upset. I mean, I know we kind of both feel this way, and we had talked about it before at the beginning of the podcast, but you cannot trust anything Giannis says. You can't.
Absolutely.
It can always be construed as something that is going to affect a betting line. That is what he has done by partnering with a brand such as Kalshi. So,
yeah.
I think when the way that you put it in the notes here, the Giannis thing is everything that's wrong with pro sports right now. Like, yes, even this dumb conversation of trade him. I don't care. But Giannis, your opinion on the matter doesn't matter to me as a fan anymore. I can't listen to you and not think that you're trying to get something out of this conversation or try to plant something in my head to maybe eventually affect a line later on down the line. So, who knows?
Yeah, and I think I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with the Giannis thing where one, I just can't trust him anymore. You shouldn't trust Giannis to do the reasonable thing. He is going to do whatever he wants, and that is just something that he's very clear. Like, he doesn't really care what happens here. But I also think, like, what is so weird, I think, about our current time is that, like, I don't know, man. I don't understand why all these athletes, why all these celebrities just refuse to kind of take the 5 seconds of bad PR. Like, they clearly want to do something. They want to do, essentially they want to do whatever they want to do, but they don't want anyone to have any, like, kind of bad feelings about it. Like, and it's just like, dude, just, I think you, like, do you understand what I'm saying here? Because, I feel like it's, like, Giannis is, like, the perfect example where it's like, he just is going to do whatever he wants to do, but he doesn't want you to feel bad about it. And so now we're in this weird position where we have to, like, he has to make all these weird, like, statements and apologies and just all this random ass shit. And it's like, dude, just do what I don't care. I straight up don't care. Just do stuff.
Here's the one thing I'll give to Giannis. Like, from a player's perspective, the player always, no matter what, takes the hump of the PR nightmare. And this might not be a one-to-one comparison, but I feel as though so many modern players now, what's the thing they think about? Kevin Durant, PR crisis, going to, I almost said Sacramento, to Golden State. Because, look, here we are almost 10 years later from that moment. This summer, we actually will be. July 4th of this year, we will be 10 years removed from the decision. And what will have happened in that time? Well, the Golden State Warriors are now in the top echelon of franchises in NBA history. Steph is considered a top 10 player ever. They got the championships. They ended up getting, three or four total throughout the time, even after Kevin had left. And Kevin Durant, to this day, still is hated for that decision at the core, usually, of why most people hate him. So, is Giannis being unreasonable? Like, no, in a way, because is he being unreasonable trying to protect his PR? No, because he will take the brunt of it if there is a bad split anyway. What I think is stupid is that they're just not trusting it. That's how dumb they see the fans. That, like, if Giannis leaves, one of us is going to get in trouble. They're going to be so mad. It's like, I actually think most fans understand that you kind of stay at if you stay at a job for 10 to 15 years, like, that's long enough. That's fine if you want to move on. Like, I'll get it. Even if Giannis is great or wants to go to a competitor at this point, this is not like, if Giannis had left in 2020, then you could have said, what the hell? Like, we got everyone here. All the pieces were here. Yeah, we could improve in a couple places, but the pieces were here. If Giannis had left and gone to, like, the Celtics in 2020 or something, you could have said that. But no, this is the end of the run. Like get real. People are way more understanding of that than either the Bucks organization or Giannis think. So I don't know. I don't understand even why it's that big of a deal.
Yeah, it's like kind of it's like what you said, like everyone knows this is over. They already won the title, which is the biggest thing. They already won the title. It's been over for like 3 years, and I think it honestly says something bad about the Bucks organization that like it feels like they're kind of diluting themselves a little bit to think that like anyone would be reasonably mad about this just because like, dude, you waived and stretched Damian Lillard to sign Miles Turner to a near max contract. That's something you did because you thought
that's what pisses people off.
Yeah,
like,
that's
those
what
are the
makes
moves
people
that piss
mad.
people off.
And it's like once you made that move, you basically said that you were done, that you're not winning a title. That's what you announced to the world, and that is what has borne out the season. They've lost so many games by 20 points this season. It's just like, dude, like no one's gonna be mad if you trade Giannis. I'm sure the fans at this point are just like, fuck it, like let me just like be bad for 5 years because this is just not worth it. This is not worth like keeping Giannis here if it's just gonna be this shitty all the time. Like just let's move on. Like I want I would want the best for Giannis as if I was a Bucks fan, and clearly that shit's not going to be here. Like everyone in the world except for ironically the president of the United States refuses to be seen as the bad guy for any amount of time right now. And it's just like, dude, I respect what KD did in 2016 so much more because he was the villain and he's fucking stuck by it, man. He's stuck by that decision. He was like, I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm not going to apologize for it at all. Like, that is more respectable than whatever the fuck Giannis is doing right now.
We've bitched about this, and look, like, we haven't even got into any moral failings of Giannis, right? Like, we're not talking about this from a moral perspective, even. We're talking about this more from just, like, a trust level of in a business sense of like, okay, if there's something to be manipulated or there whatever Giannis is doing here, he might have an ulterior motive, far less about what he is actually saying and versus what he's saying is affecting elsewhere. There's a lot of that talk, but we haven't even gotten into the fact that he's an actual slumlord that has been reported on by multiple organizations. I mean, you had kind of said it briefly, but we haven't got into the actual bad things that he might be investing in or spending his time in. So consider that. Like, when I'm talking about not being able to listen to Giannis, that's not me talking about him being a bad person. That's me being realistic about, hey, every single person, every single capitalist, which if you have as much money as Giannis, you are, they are going to try to take money and value from you any way they can. Like, and that's hating the game. Like, I hate the game, not the player in this situation, but I'm also not stupid. And I understand that it might be a bit tinfoil hat to be like, you can't trust a single word that Giannis says. But I'm just saying you have to be very careful about everything Giannis says now. That's what investing in a company like this does.
He invested in a prediction market. How can you trust anything he has to say about literally anything in the world? That's the whole point of a prediction market.
It's what we're grappling with. That's what I'm trying to grapple with in this situation. Is like, this isn't just a prediction market about sports and stuff that has to involve him is a problem. But it's like, now Giannis could talk about the weather and it's insider trading. So I don't even know what's going on. I joked reading the press release with Ivy earlier that the guy who owns Kalshi was like, said in a statement when they put out the press release, like, Giannis will not be allowed to bet on any NBA involved activities. And it's like, brother, I don't think you're the one enforcing that rule. I think the league is. I think a lot more pressing shit happens if that gets discovered than he loses his Kalshi sponsorship. Or his stake in Kalshi. I think he might be kicked out of the league.
Yeah, he might be indicted by like the government. Like, and that's also what we were talking about earlier with the stupid Kalshi ads in the New York subway, where it's like, our rule number 1: we obey all U.S. law, and it's like, I hope so. Like, I thought you were already doing that. Like, that's kind of like, and it's just, I just can't deal with the Kalshi shit anymore. I don't know. I just can't deal with the prediction markets. Like, especially right now, we haven't talked about this at all, but the the Iran stuff that's happening, I just can't think about prediction markets. I can't believe that Giannis is profiting off of.
Well, and this is why no one in our comments can tell me that it's not this serious. That this stuff with sports isn't connected to other stuff that isn't this serious. What is Pablo Torre doing? Figuring out that the owner of the Memphis Grizzlies is selling weapons in the Russia-Ukrainian war. Okay? He's selling weapons.
I did not hear about that one.
And selling, I implore everyone to go watch it. He's selling weapons to, I believe, like Israel and Russia, like a whole, just being a straight up arms dealer who in the portfolio also happens to own the team. Okay, so this stuff is that serious, and there's a reason why you need to hyper focus on these things. If you want, even if you don't care about the league being a moral place, it has to at least be a place where the people who are in it are invested in sports and not investing in like wars around the world or in predatory arenas, economic arenas. And then maybe when we can have that conversation with people about sports, maybe we can have a bigger conversation that gets a little bit scarier. Not in terms of something actually scary or violent or revolutionary, to be clear, but conversations about how this economy works and everything else. You hope that when people like us get on this podcast and criticize an Adam Silver or criticize someone in a very powerful position in sports, like there's a reason why there's always been a necessary space to do that in civilized societies. Go back to a history class to learn more about what I'm trying to get at there, but it's always been important. Foundationally in this country, you've always had to have people who are criticizing monarchs or criticizing people who want to rule with absolute power or criticizing people who have overwhelming power. Maybe not a divine power, maybe not a power granted to them by a government, but in a case like Giannis Antetokounmpo with hundreds of millions of dollars to his name and a ton of influence with, let's talk about it now, young men, people who were young kids and are now young men who have money to give away. So it is that serious. And all of it is that serious. And Grievance Corner gets that serious, bro. Like,
it can. Grievance Corner can be anything we want it to be, but I think I think this is also like one of the big things that I think the reason that we started this podcast is for conversations like this, because I think the just general indifference of the NBA media to this whole Giannis story, to the Steph Curry like affordable housing story, to basically any story that involves what these guys are actually doing with their money and influence and power. And just to, I'll let you go on, but like not even in like a more public facing way, but the aspiration scandal with Kawhi not mentioned at the owners meeting, like not mentioned. So please go on. Yeah, I think the fact that these things are not talked about, like we're talking so much time, we're spending so much time on the salary cap. We're talking about these guys' contracts in detail. Who has the best contract? Who's getting the most money? And the investigation ends there. It's like, what are you doing with this money? Like what is like ultimately the goal with all of this money? And I think that's where most of these NBA media people stop, because it becomes much more, it has to become bigger than sports. And I think that's the important thing about all of sports in general, is that it exists within society. It's a social thing. There is like, you can say that, let's just focus on the game. Let's focus on like what like the Nuggets are doing, what the Pistons are doing. And that's fine. Like that's what we do a lot. Like we've done that for an hour and a half today. But like really what we need to talk about is like shit like Giannis, man. Like it's not okay that this guy is investing in a prediction market, and on this market right now, you can bet on whether we're going to bomb Iran. Like, or specifically where in Iran we are going to bomb. Whether, and by this 8 o'clock deadline that Trump has, whether or not that something will happen at that 8 o'clock deadline. You are betting on blood. That is what's happening here with Giannis. And we get to this technology through the avenue of, we want to just bet on sports. We want to have sports betting apps. We want to be able to bet on sports. And now we can bet on bombing innocent people, bombing infrastructure, and committing acts of terror on either side. Acts of terror from anywhere, any source you can bet on. And that is crazy. I think it's kind of being lost in the shuffle here with just like, I think when everyone thinks of prediction markets, they think of Polymarket, they think of Kalshi. because those are the two biggest and most obvious. FanDuel has a prediction market. These big gambling partners, these sports books that all the leagues have like rushed to partner up with, those guys have prediction markets too. There's real money in there going to these, specifically the kinds of markets that we've been talking about today. Like where in Iran will they bomb? When that 8 o'clock deadline hits, what happens? There are markets about that on those, like, on league partner books. Like, that is the kind of shit that we're talking about. Like, when you sell your soul to gambling in 2026, you're selling your soul to, like, if someone dies, if a missile falls on a family's home in Iran, someone who they will never meet, someone just completely disconnected from the entire situation, will win like $100. That's what we're betting on here. That's what Giannis gets, a cut of that money. Like, that's what we're talking about, man.
We are less than 10 years out from the legalization of this, of gambling. I mean, pretty much 5 years out from it. This is where we've got to already. And that's what I want people to think about. If you are even slightly uncomfortable with where the betting is at, like maybe for the most part you think it's fine and you yourself sports bet, but even if you have an inkling, just a feeling in the back of your mind that like this is kind of a lot, or this is kind of really accessible, or if I had a kid I really wouldn't want them to be able to access this, that's what needs to radicalize you in thinking of, hey, maybe this is going too far too fast and this needs to have a stop put to it. And I don't want to get too overtly political, but I think
we should.
I think these people who own companies like Kalshi and these prediction markets are betting on the fact that we are a very docile people here in America, athletes and us, regular people, and will kind of just let things happen and let things be normalized. And this is not a call to action. I'm simply saying, like, consider that. Consider how you feel about these things and investigate your feelings on it.
Yeah,
because, sure. I mean, that's what we do in our time and when we're not on the podcast. And people think that a lot of these takes, like sometimes a lot of these takes are from the hip, but usually that's more the sports takes than our economic or political takes for the most part.
Yeah. Like the political and economic stuff, I stand by everything that I say on this podcast 100%. The sports stuff, it's like, yeah, like sometimes I'll be wrong and I'll admit that I'm wrong. And it's like, I'm just trying to be stupid sometimes. But like the real shit, like this Giannis thing that we've been talking about all season, and I think we're the only ones really actually talking about this in a like concerted, maintained way. Like, I stand by that. This is really fucked up and it's evil. And like, I just fundamentally am uncomfortable with a world where someone wins money because someone else died. And if an athlete happens to be getting a cut of whatever money is spent or bet on or lost or whatever, like, I think we need to talk about that as a sports podcast, especially if the athlete is someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Why not try to speak into existence the world you'd want to see? And ideally, in my world, players are not investing in companies that can involve the betting on of deaths of innocent people like that. And people are going to look at, hear that from me and go, well, like way too woke, like way too, chill, bro. Like, it's not that serious, but like, we're just getting to the point where it's been 10 to 20 years of people saying it's not that serious. And now we're at the point where actually it always was that serious. It's for real that serious. It always was that serious, and it is for real that serious. So if you're annoyed by conversations like these, first of all, this isn't the podcast for you.
No,
and if you're annoyed by a lot of our certain takes of ours that seem like it comes through like a politicized lens, like, I'm here to tell you it absolutely does. Most of our sports takes comes through a highly politicized lens anyway. Because, look, these guys deserve to be criticized. There's been a lot said by players during all this gambling being allowed of like, we're getting like threats in our DMs and stuff like that. And I don't think these players deserve to have death threats in their DM. No one deserves to have a death threat thrown at them for failing in a market. You know what I mean? Like just completely ridiculous stuff. But do these guys deserve to be criticized and scrutinized for their investments and the things they say? Yes. Like, they make that much money. They make so much money. They do, and that does matter. Like, those are the people that you need to criticize. It's a capitalist society. Like, if you want to make it equal, We got it. You got to have your I don't even know what to call it. It's not court gesturing, but like you need to have someone in the room criticizing the king. That's
Yeah.
like even the old monarchs knew that you had to do that. You had to release some tension somehow. So
Yeah, it's these guys are worth like $500 million at this point. Like Giannis is worth $500 million. His next deal is going to be fucking crazy. Like all these guys are worth
these
much
NBA
money.
players themselves, are worth more than probably 95% of all businesses started in the United States, like throughout its history and to now.
Yeah,
95 may even be that might be a conservative number. It might be like 98% of all businesses that have been started in this country.
they're big businesses unto themselves.
Do you get on the phone? Do you get mad with Bank of America when something happens to you? Like, I'm sure the average person has dealt with someone BS at like a banking institution or whatever and been mad. Like, that's what these guys represent in an economic sense. So yeah, I care deeply.
If this
I
was
care deeply about what they do with their money.
if he was just a simple investor who was investing in all of the, who had like $500 million, who was investing in all of this stuff, if his name wasn't Giannis, we would still be like, hey, that's fucked up. This guy is a huge piece of shit. Like, we would honestly be way more aggressive about it. But because it's Giannis, we're like, oh well, no one's gonna talk about it anymore. It's just fucking stupid.
Peter Thiel would love to have the PR of Giannis. Peter
Oh my
Thiel would
God.
love Elon Musk. If Elon Musk had Steph Curry PR, even with the haters that Curry and these guys have, like, that's their problem. That's their problem ultimately, is that we know what these guys are doing, which is ultimately selling out the unprotected for privatized gains. And yeah, if I can criticize and bully an NBA player into not doing that, like, great. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. That's a win for us, like, emphatically. I think we're running up against our time here. We spent way longer on Grievance Corner this week than I think we ever have. But I enjoyed it. We needed to talk about this stuff. Yeah, do you have any closing thoughts, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, speaking on these players' morality is a very tough subject. And, like, I feel strongly about when we talk about someone like a Miles Bridges or something about domestic violence within any of these leagues. Like, that's one thing. When it comes to financials, like, that's a trickier conversation. But we do feel strong when it has to do with death and destruction. Like, you have to be principled. You have to be principled. That's really what we're being here. Do you think we don't want to root for Giannis? Like, that's more what I want to get out here. Do you think we don't think, like, again, we made the list of cool and swag and swagless NBA moments, and he was arguably one of the most emphatically swag finals moments ever. Like, we have seen the things of Giannis. To the young men out there, especially, like, we want to like these people, but you have to be principled in your views on the world. Like, it can't be, this guy got a triple-double, so I'm gonna let him get away with selling weapons to, like, whoever. Some, like, militant group that's like to a warlord wherever. Like, that, those have to be two things you can hold and judge a person for. It can't be like, man, bro, Kelly Olynyk, Game 7 for the Celtics, but man, he also was funding, like, death squads and wherever. It's like, no. And to be fair, I'm Kelly Oubre. I'm not.
Yeah, you really just came for Kelly
Olynyk,
for, like,
whoever
no
I said.
reason.
Just kind of threw a name out there. There was nothing. There's nothing there that no relation. But
Hopefully.
yeah, I guess hopefully. But yeah, that's what I want young men to understand. Like, we want to be fans, but we also understand that this is real life.
Yeah.
And these guys make their decisions and love to hide behind, well, I have, like, a team that helps me with my money and everything. Like, no, these guys know where their money goes. You listen to any player podcast. You think a guy like Jeff Teague is stupid? Brother, he knew where every dollar in his bank account was going. He knew exactly how these contracts are working. Like, all these players know, okay? So, young men, young people, I should say, I should be more open, but the people who are not young men would understand why I'm trying to message this to them specifically. But young people, just know, like, And your favorite athletes and your favorite pop stars and your favorite this must be held accountable if they're doing shitty things. And honestly, that's kind of a downer end, but it's also not. I feel like it's also an important lesson to end this on.
Yeah.
And it's that is 100% what informs all of our takes on this podcast and the way that we talk about people.
100,000,000%, man. This is the only way to end this.
Yeah. I think Jalen Brunson's probably a good dude, but is he going to last 2 more years? I'm not sure.
You're really pushing the anti-Jalen agenda today. This is like...
But is he a cool guy? Probably a nice guy, maybe.
Sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
I don't know.
Who cares?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Would he be cool to hang out with? Probably.
I just want everyone to know, Ben, before we got on, he was like, I'm really going to start pushing an anti-New York agenda today.
That is not true. I was talking about algorithms, and I was saying how it loves the anti-New York agenda.
Yeah, he wasn't saying it. He was saying the algorithm was saying
Actually,
it.
no. To be fair, I was saying how we're early, but we're still right on the Jalen Brunson decline.
Oh, we're so right.
We're so right about that, and people get mad, and that's what drives traffic. But we're still right about that, to be perfectly clear.
100,000,000,000%.
Season and a half from now, we're pulling this footage up, okay? And the victory lap on that, we're basically already victory lapping it, even when there's not total evidence in our favor. Like, I'm gonna celebrate early. I'm Dion to the end zone right now. I'm dancing at the 50. This is not like a Max Kellerman LeBron take or Tom Brady take from like 10 years before he retires. No. We're right about this. But anyway.
100% right.
Anyway, more about us being right later this week when we record again. But we'll jump off for now. We've gone a little over 90 minutes, more like 105 minutes. But what we got coming up, we'll do maybe some more draft talk for the NFL. I think we'll do some more money talk because I kind of like doing money talk in the off season. And kind of to follow up on the end of this podcast, I'll talk a bit more about the NFLPA and the players and why I think they've been really... the situation has been very bad, and if you've been tapped in, you know that there's been a lot of corporate rummaging within the NFLPA and everything like that. And I think it's important to highlight on a podcast like this, even though you have guys like Pablo Torre and a lot of reporters at Yahoo and everywhere else who are on the case, who I implore you to go check out their content as well. But for now, on this Tuesday, we're going to get Celtics Hornets tonight. We'll be watching that. We'll be watching to see Jokic hit the 65-game minimum to keep the MVP chances alive. And we'll see you next time. Ivy, got anything else?
Nope.
All right. See y'all. See you next time, probably in clip form. And have a good rest of your week.
Peace.